everyone. Today we're going to go over lesson 6-7. This is the last lesson in chapter 6, solving radical equations and inequalities. All right, so we have a radical equation, extraneous solution, radical inequality are some vocabulary words you might hear or see. So we have 3 steps when solving for radical equations. Your first step is to isolate the radical on one side of the equation. Step 2 is to raise each side of the equation to a power equal to the index of the radical to eliminate the radical, and then solve the resulting polynomial equation. So a lot of the work's actually going to be done in step 3, depending on what you have inside the radical. So depending on your radicand, it's going to depend out how much work you have where. And as always, pause the video as needed. So here we have solve the square root of y minus 2 minus 1 equals 5. So notice that the minus 1 is on the outside of the radical, so we're going to add it to both sides. And now remember, if you do not see an index, the index is going to be 2. So we're going to square both sides. This will get rid of the radical. And we're going to get left with y minus 6 equals 36. Or I'm sorry, y minus 2 equals 36. So we're going to add 2 to both sides and get y equals 38. So we can go ahead and check this by plugging 38 in, and we do get that it's true. So my answer is 38. All right, so the other thing we have is when we have radicals on both sides of the equation. If this is the case, we're going to go ahead and square both sides. So that we can get rid of at least one of the radicals. And so when we do that, we're going to get x minus 12 equals 4 minus 4 square root of x plus x. All right, so this is what we get from when we square both sides. We're then going to isolate the square root on one side. When we do that, we're going to move x over to one side and 4 to get negative 16 equals the negative 4 times the square root of x. We're going to divide by negative 4 to get 4 equals the square root of x. We're going to square both sides and get 16 equals x. So we can test this and it works. Or it does not work, I'm sorry. We get 2 equals negative 2, which is a false statement. So there is actually no real solution here. And again, pause the video, rewind the video for whatever you might need. All right, go ahead and solve square root of x minus 3 minus 2 equals 6. All right, you should get C. You would add 2 to both sides, square it, and then add 3 to both sides. All right, go ahead and try this one out. All right, with this, you should get no solution. And you would get that when you check your work, that when you plug it back in, you'll find that they don't work. All right, so what if we have a cube root or a exponent to the power of 1/3? So when you have an exponent as a fraction, it's the same thing as a root. Remember that. To cancel out, you just multiply by the denominator. So you raise the power, so we're going to take it and raise it to the 3rd power on both. But after we subtract 5 from both sides, we're then going to cube both sides and get 3y plus 1 equals negative 125. And then when we get 3y equals negative 126 by subtracting 1 from both sides, divide by 3 to get negative 42. And we plug in and check our work, and we find that it is true. So the answer is negative 42. All right, let's go ahead and try this one out. All right, So working this one out, you should get C13. Looking at example 3, here's a sample multiple choice question. Which one is the solution? So we're going to walk our way through this one. We're going to add 4 to both sides. We're then going to divide by 7 on both sides. And then we're going to raise the power to the index, which is 6. So we're going to take the power of 6 on both sides. 2 to the 6 is 64. So just simplify it. The radical goes away, as does the exponent of 6 on this side over here. Now we're going to isolate m by subtracting 4 from both sides. And then we're going to divide by 5, and we get 12. So the answer would have been C, or just m equals 12. So go ahead and try this one. And you should get B 242. All right, so go ahead, copy down the 3 steps for solving radical inequalities. It's very much the same. The only difference is at the end, you have to check to find out which, to make sure that your solution truly does work with the inequality provided. All right, so we're going to do the same steps. Since the radicand of our square root must be greater than or equal to 0, we also have to set that the radicand be greater than or equal to 0. And when we do that, we know that x has to be greater than 2 when we plug this in. So then we're going to go ahead and use the original inequality and isolate x. And we get x is less than or equal to 5. So our solution set is 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 5. All right, moving on, we're going to check it by plugging in values to test our solution. So we're going to choose 1, which would be less than 2. We're going to choose 4, which is between 2 and 5. And then we choose 6, which is greater than 5. So we're choosing a place that's in between all the solution possible sets. And we can see, based on what we have here, only the value between 2 and 5 does work. So our interval is correct. So go ahead and try this one out. Working it out, you should get C negative 5/2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 58. So that is the end of lesson 6-7, and I will see you next time. Bye.